Over the summer, the Student Union Board has been struggling to keep in place a permanent director. When the old sub-director, Amanda Mustafik, failed to put in the necessary number of hours, she was fired and replaced with Trey Matthews. Matthews was confirmed today by the undergraduate senate, but now questions are arising about his dedication to the job after he failed to attend several meetings during the summer. Joining me to discuss their sub-par record so far is Amanda Fulton, Chief of Staff for the Cutter administration. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I hope you liked the subpar joke.
Thanks for having me. I did like it a lot, actually. Very funny.
Can you just briefly explain, without going into inappropriate detail, why Amanda was fired and just sort of why we had to go through that? Because she was confirmed back in the fall.
Right.
I mean, spring. So can you explain that just a little bit?
Sure. Well, basically what happened was over the summer, as we were looking through timesheets, just kind of noticing activity in the office, we noticed that she just wasn't putting in the amount of time that was expected or required of her. Seth checked in with her. She was having a family emergency at home, and eventually it just came down to the fact that she's just unable to balance the time that she needed to spend with her family with the work for a sub. And I know, as much as we really liked Amanda, Seth and I decided that, we didn't want the sub's fall schedule to suffer, so we did end up asking her to step down and choosing a new director.
Now, apparently, you were initially understanding, or Seth was initially understanding of the family conflict, but then at some point you issued a kind of an ultimatum. You got to kind of get back on the ball or whatever. Can you explain what that ultimatum was and kind of how? Because there's a lot of controversy surrounding who's really at fault here? Was you guys not really being understanding, or was she being ridiculous? Some of that is cleared up, but can you explain the ultimatum?
Yeah, basically what happened was I think we had gotten to the second week of July, and she needed to go out of town one more time to go back home to New York. And Seth spoke with her, and she said, next Monday I will be there. I will be there 9 to 5. And 9 a.m. came and went. She didn't come. Seth finally called her at 2 on Monday and said, "What's the deal? Where are you?" And she was saying, "Oh, well, I was going to come in today," and without playing he said, she said, there did reach a point at which we needed work to start getting done. And
right.
We weren't able to figure out what that time was going to be.
So, I see. But you were leading, after she was let go, you were leading up the charge for a new sub-director to kind of replace her. What qualities were you looking for, and what was the process for finding a new candidate? Sure.
Well, what we did, first of all, was we created an application that was pretty much the same one that we had go out in the spring, and we advertised it via, we used the Daily Jolt, Facebook, we used the sub Facebook group and the sub listserv, as well as contacting other interested parties, such as the other applicants from the spring. And we gave a week's deadline and ended up having 6 applicants. And then we called them all back for phone interviews, and one of them actually was able to come in person. In terms of what we were looking for, a lot of the same things that we were looking for when we found Amanda, someone who had an interest in music, that would be able to take the leadership role over such a large organization that controlled such a large amount of money. But we made really special care to find someone who was able to assure us that they had the time commitment that they could put into running sub and doing it well.
So Seth was saying that earlier in the show that Trey was kind of doing you guys a favor, or I guess the students a favor, by doing that without being paid or even confirmed. Is that why there's kind of some concern about the number of hours he was putting in?
I don't know that that's so much the case. I mean, it's a little harder because he was doing it on a volunteer basis. We really don't have anything that we can hold him to. But I think we're all willing to be a little flexible with him just because the start of the year, the fact that he's completely learning the organization. But yeah, I would say the fact that it was on a volunteer basis did make it a little bit harder to have set expectations.
But you, at this point, kind of expect him to really take the ball and run.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's been confirmed, office hours are a must because he's getting paid, and that's students' money. So office hours are definitely a must now.
Oh, well, that's...
yeah.
I know how that
good.
is.
Yeah.
What is Trey actually going to be able to do at this point? It's sort of late in the year for when it comes to arranging acts and things.
Right.
For this fall semester, is it all kind of set up for him? Which is kind of my understanding that this schedule's kind of been set up. So will he be working on spring, or there's still stuff that needs to be done for the fall?
In terms of actual booking, most of the stuff is either in the contract phase or set. So that's true. For the fall, pretty much all he has is executing the logistics and the publicity in regards to the individual events. So yes, he will primarily be working on spring when it comes to actually choosing bands, concerts, comedians, that sort of thing.
Now, there was talk with Andrew Addison, who was the deputy subdirector, who was confirmed today, but acting, I guess, deputy subdirector prior to that.
An acting subdirector, actually, for a while.
An acting subdirector for a while,
yeah.
while everyone else was away. There was talk about possibly him being the director, and Seth was explaining about, just earlier in the show, that the botch was kind of put on that because he was going abroad.
Right.
Is he still going to be playing an acting directorship role now that, even though Trey has been confirmed, but is he still learning the ropes? I mean, how will that play?
Although he is technically confirmed as the deputy director, I think that he will still be having a very strong leadership role with Trey, just because he's worked with Sub in the past, whereas Trey has not. So he will be doing a lot, just kind of show him the ropes. And because he was the one who planned a lot of the stuff over the summer, he really can take the leadership role on that.
Well, excellent. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. When we come back, year-to-date correspondent Rachel Monin sits down with resident assistant Julie Reinhart to discuss the new alcohol policy. We'll be right back after this. Don't be drunk.